All right, the last example that we have, example 6. There's no other little context clues up here about what this is. This is just another limit, so let's just get a little practice with this. So in this case, always start off by plugging in the value that we're supposed to send x towards. So in this case, 4. In the top, we'll get the square root of 9 minus 3, which is 3 minus 3, which is 0. And the denominator will, of course, get 0. So unsurprisingly, we get 0 over 0, which is an indeterminate form, which means we should do some algebra to try to rewrite this and then hopefully get something to cancel or to combine so that we can evaluate this limit. So because this limit has a square root in it, it's a really nice idea to go ahead and use the method of what we did in the last square root example, which was either multiply by the conjugate over the conjugate to rationalize the expression, or at least rationalize, in this case, we would be rationalizing the numerator because that's where the irrational term is. So we could multiply by, root x plus 5 plus 3 over root x plus 5 plus 3. And then that would shift the irrationality down to the denominator. The other thing that we did with the last example containing a square root was we could factor the denominator in such a way to get a square root to appear. So we could write this as the square root of x plus 2 times the square root of x minus 2. But notice that neither of these terms is the square root in the numerator. So even if we were to do that sort of slightly awkward factoring, there would be no benefit because neither of the two emerging factors would cancel with a term in the numerator. So we are going to go ahead and use the method of the conjugate for that reason. So we're going to multiply by the conjugate of the numerator, which means just flipping the sign between the two terms. So we get the root plus 3 over the root plus 3. Now we're going to go ahead and simplify this. So we can go ahead and, if we remember, you're going to want to FOIL out the portion that has the two square roots, but you're not going to want to FOIL out the portion of the fraction where only one of the two terms is the square root. Because here, when we actually FOIL this out, the square roots will undo themselves, but down here, this would just create a really nasty expression. So let's go ahead and just keep the denominator written as two separate factors, and we'll worry about FOILing out the special factoring form in the numerator, which would be a difference of squares. So the square of the first term, so the square of this, is just, well, x plus 5. And then negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. And then you can see that negative 9 and 5, when added together, these two combine to yield a minus 4. So we actually have x minus 4, which would cancel with the denominator. So let's go ahead and just write this out instead of leaving that all in words. Let's actually just write this out. Okay, then explicitly they cancel. And remember, when you cancel and there's nothing left in the top, technically there's a 1. Because you take something and you divide it by itself, you get 1. So there should be a 1 in the top. Oops. Made that square root a little bit too big. There we go. And now, we just want to evaluate this. This should be 1/6.